So happy Friday, everybody. First off, I found a shirt I don't think you've seen. It's been in the way back of the closet. I don't know why I never wear it. I really like it. It's super soft and comfy. It's big
Ooh.
like I like it. It's got a pocket. I just, for some reason, it just get bypassed. So new shirt. So let's see. How are you today, Jasmine? Where are you at?
I'm just have a nice peaceful scene from a Washington State park.
Oh, wow. Looks like
Yeah.
rolling hills in Ireland
Oh,
or something.
yeah.
Awesome.
What?
Good.
No, no, what do the Bears have on today?
Well, yes. And I think that's Molly. Hi, Molly. I know you may or may not be able to talk to us, but I know you're there, and hopefully Barb and the others will be joining.
I can talk. I can talk. Can you hear me? I can talk.
Woo! How are you?
I'm doing fine. I think Valerie unmutes me now. I think she knows to unmute me. I mean, yeah. Thanks. I'm
Thank
doing
you,
great.
Valerie. Thank you, Valerie, for always being there for us in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, the bears today. Let me go grab the big bear. So in keeping with the theme of some of the previous recitals that I've had with my percussion ensemble group, I decided to bring back one of the outfits the bear wore at the Mirage. So it was a theme all about being in the desert. So he has got on a traditional hat, and he's got on this outfit that I bought in an Indian store. I think I told you all the story about going in and pretending I was buying an outfit for a 2-year-old or a small child. And I finally had to tell them it wasn't for a kid at all. And then they really thought I was wacko. But anyway, this is a traditional Indian outfit, Middle Eastern outfit that would be worn to a ceremonial like a wedding. It does have pants, but I didn't put them on because they were way too big. This is a boy's outfit. It's kind of like, I forgot the name of this, a sari, I believe, or something. And then I just put some beads on him. And these were the shoes. And these are real shoes for a small child to be worn with this. The feet don't fit real well on the bear, but the way that we put him on the bass drum, we put the shoes on. And I mean, I spent a fortune on these shoes. But they are so cool. And I don't know what I'll ever do with them again. And then he was carrying this little, we were pretending that we were going after, I'll have to send you the video links, but we were actually trying to find these in our quest. And so, he was holding one of them. So anyway, it was very cute. And that's so his Middle Eastern outfit. The little bear is running out of clothes, so he's on vacation this week. So I don't have anything, but what I do have is a prop that didn't make it into the PowerPoint that should have. So this is the bass drum head, and I even have a little label on it. I'm going to hang it in my garage. Karen's first drum set. It cost $16 for the entire drum set. And this was the front bass head. And my first band was called the Stingray Band. And this has got this psychedelic. It's not even a real drum head. It's made out of cardboard. These are not real drum hoops. It was basically a toy because back in the day, they didn't have real drum sets for little kids like they do now. They have like beautiful drum sets for little kids. That are smaller. This was actually a toy. You could buy it at like Target or Walmart. They still kind of have them, but they're a little bit better. But it didn't even have the drums in the right positions and everything. So I still have the cowbell from it. I still have the front head. I think I still have the original cymbal. But it kind of had a snare drum sort of and a tom. And I'll show you a picture sometime. I think I've got it somewhere. But anyway, so that's kind of my prop of the day. So hopefully today we can maybe finish this never-ending PowerPoint. And so hopefully y'all keep coming back. So I guess that's good. You're not bored, and it's fun for me to reminisce and go through this stuff and then decide what to do with it all, throw it all away now that it's in the PowerPoint or something. I don't know. I'll put it all in one box, and then at least it'll be easy for somebody to throw away or whatever. Hopefully not. Maybe somebody will want some of this stuff. So let's see. I'm going to share my screen and my crazy messy screen. We left off. We were at 169 here. And I'll try to make this a little bit bigger this time. I noticed I watched back a few of them and I'm like, oh, that looks terrible. So I think we've already talked about Omar Hakim earlier in this PowerPoint, and I can't remember. I showed a previous poster that he had signed, Good Luck in Your New Studio, but I don't think I showed this particular poster, and I just don't have room in my studio for all these cool posters, and I just can't bear to throw them away. And some of them are framed, and some of them are just rolled up, but he's quite a bit older now. It doesn't quite look like that, but he's still out and about, and I think we've talked about him. So here's just another poster, another cool poster. Pearl put out a lot of really cool posters, and again, they were really good with marketing. They always had catalogs. You could go to the music store and get flyers, and I used to go and clip them and put them up on my wall and have collages made out of these drum sets. I still have some drum books, but now everything's online. It's just not as cool as you could just get a flyer and salivate over it and put it on your wall. And, I used to love just doing stuff like that. It's been hours cutting out pictures of just random things. And I did the same thing with animals. I loved making collages out of, lizards and all the critters, and I just, because they're so colorful and cool. So this one I think we've also probably seen an excerpt of. I need to go back and reorganize my PowerPoint, but this was Akira Jimbo, who we've talked about before. Here's his signature and his ticket price where I saw him, and I've talked about how amazing he was and some of the things that his approach. So we'll kind of go quickly through some of this because we've already sort of talked about some of them. So here's one that's in my garage that will probably find a place in the garage on the wall at some point, is posters that are sort of framed, just little plastic frames, not big glass fancy frames or anything, but I had these hanging in my previous music studio when I was doing a lot of teaching. I had a ton of kids coming in and out, and I was trying to get them inspired to join, drum corps or try to work toward trying to try out. And so this was the Madison Scouts. It's their 20th anniversary. This is an older poster, and they're still one of my most favorite drum corps. It's an all-male corps. There are only really 2 all-male corps, although I think now they are actually allowing some females in. And it's just a really... They were much like the Troopers. They kind of had a following of people that, they played a lot of sort of Malagueña-ish music and just amazing kinds of jazz. Really interesting because the color guard was all male, so it was very athletic. They were doing, not as much dance and more sort of gymnastics kinds of things. So they were fun to watch with the rifles because they were flipping and doing all kinds of, more kind of athletic rather than dancey kinds of stuff. But Blue Coats, again, just another really cool poster. And I'll just kind of keep going kind of quick through this. The Cavaliers, the other all-male corps, or were all-male corps. I believe they probably still are. I can't remember. One of them opened up and had a female recently. But just a really great, I love their color guard as well because of just the athleticism and just, they do a lot of really interesting shows about, they've had all kinds of different ones. One was like a James Bond, they're just action-packed adventure kinds of shows, which I really enjoy. So here was one that Yamaha put out, and I like this one because it's got over here on the left of the screen, it's got sort of the 40 international rudiments. In the middle, it's got some more, talks about some timpani stuff, some translations of musical words that are in, music, a lot of Italian and Latin and things like that, and what they mean. I believe that is what it says. Oh, French and German and English. And then it's got the circle of fifths, which is more of something that the mallet players would pay attention to. And then over here, this is cool. It's got some hybrid rudiments. And I've seen so many different lists of hybrid rudiments, and everybody's kind of making up their own rudiments, but they're really fun because they're a combination of different rudiments and then some interesting things. So some of them are named really neat. They sound, if you knew the name, you'd know how to play it. Others just make no sense at all. And but they're really fun and great exercises just to get your hands moving. So here's just a close up of the international, and they've got them in groups. I always teach them in families, the roll family, the flam family, the diddle family, and the drag family, so they're sort of in families, groupings of rudiments that have, flam is this little thing right here, and drag is this little thing right here. Diddle is the two of the same at the end, and these are all the roll rudiments. So it's just kind of a nice organized, but they've got some great names. I mean, Patty Fla Fla, Flam Paradiddle Diddle, Lesson 25. That's one of my favorite ones to explain to students because they just look at me like that's the name of it, the Lesson 25. Yeah, well, in the old Haskell-Har book, if you have the Haskell-Har book, which they don't have, but I do, because that was like one of the only books we had when I was coming up. That's the book 1, and if you made it to book 2, wow, that was awesome. But book 2, or somewhere in the book 1 or 2, there was a Lesson 25, and it had the rudiment, and so it became known as that. So when these guys gathered way back when, there was a group of them that got together at a meeting and decided, hey, if you're going to be a legitimate drummer, these are the building blocks that you have to know. And they came up with the 26 United States rudiments and then the 40 international. And like pretty much if you knew those, you were good to go and you could go play anything you wanted. And now, oh my gosh, that was just like the tiny, tiny, tiny tip of the iceberg of what we expect and what people are doing. But it was where everything started. So it's just kind of fun, some of the history that probably a lot of younger people don't know. They just like say, oh yeah, that's the Lesson 25, but they don't know the history or anything like that. So here's just again kind of talking about some of the translations of instruments, actually, not words that are on music, but instruments, what they might be called in different languages. And then here's some of the hybrids. They've got the cheese patty fla fla and the cheese backflip and the tagada, 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 tagada. Some of them sound like how they go. So anyway, they're a lot of fun. And I have to even look at some of these are probably new for me because every hybrid list I see, and I've got, lists and books and, hundreds of the hybrids. Some of them are the same one, but they're named different. So there's no agreement. It's kind of just like people, I could make up a Karen Newell and throw it out there and, it could become something. So here's the roll-off guys, just another poster. I love this one. It's just, they always dress so funny and, they were just super ingenious in selling, percussion ensemble and wind on, all percussion literature. They are the guys. So who says we don't take percussion literature seriously? And so for the top half is very legit, and then they're in their crazy socks and in undershorts there. So I just, love Chris and Chris. They're really awesome. So this one I don't think you've seen. So this is one of my prized possessions and used to be hanging in my studio. So this is the way I picture Earth, Wind, and Fire when I think of them. And we just lost Freddie Green, who was this gentleman here. And here's Maurice White. And here's Verdine. He's still alive. There's only, I believe, 3 of this original that are around. Verdine is one of them. I used to know all their names and could tell you all about them. But anyway, this is the way, they always had these really cool costumes, and the dance was good, and their message was positive, and it was good music, and they had a great trumpet section, just back there, just cranking out all these notes, and still, just can't say enough about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And all the tunes I like are the ones that you probably all don't know that aren't on the radio. But all the ones that, you're still hearing them in commercials and stuff like that. So that was a fun poster. Here's one, Ed Shaughnessy. He always had these necklaces like this. He played for Johnny Carson. He was, a lot of times Johnny would be joking with him, and so anyway, Ed Shaughnessy had a 30-year gig on the Tonight Show. And again, we've talked about him before. Probably not the most spectacular player that drummers would say that he's their favorite, but he had a very long career and he got a good gig. And so there's more to it than just, playing. He was funny, he was nice, he was, just a good guy. He showed up on time, all those kind of things are probably more important. And I think that message doesn't always get to these people coming up that are wanting to do this for a living, that, you could just be a smoking hot player, but maybe that's not, that's not everything. You gotta be on time and be able to be worked with and be collaborative. And, I'd much rather work with somebody on a team that is, less talented, if you will, but like somebody I can work with instead of somebody that we all hate and they can, play rings around everybody. Like, who cares? Those folks are kind of a dime a dozen, but people that are genuine and easy to work with are kind of harder to come by. So, the Troopers, I found this poster. So this was kind of cool. So this was, it probably was 81 or 82 actually. And, here I am actually, this was taken, I didn't even know this poster existed. And I saw it somewhere and I, helped myself to it after the show, wherever we were, I don't know, in Nebraska or somewhere. Maybe I should read this and then I know where it's from. But, this looks like, well, no, I didn't even read it. But here I am in the front row. This is the part of the drum solo where every other person, well, this is the tenor solo. And so this person right here is me. And this was during a practice. And so we almost never had any pictures. I mean, we didn't take pictures back then. So I have so few pictures of practice or performance. And so this was one of those rare ones that somebody snapped a picture and turned it into a poster. And, and the poster is all about, we had a bunch of kids that flew in from Ohio to be with us. And let's see, I don't know. Yeah, the Ohio Troopers, here they are. So we actually, drew people from all over the country. Mostly it was Denver kids and Wyoming kids, but we did have California and Arizona. And now all the Denver kids go to the Blue Knights. And so Troopers are actually getting a lot of Texas kids. And they're actually contracting now. So you actually sign a contract and that for a couple of years you're going to play for them. And so then they've had to kind of do that. And I think a lot of them do that now. It's a very serious deal for, an 18-year-old to sign a contract to play. And the thing is, you don't get paid. You pay to do it, but you have to be good enough to do it. So, and everybody wants to do it. And a lot of people try out, and it's like thousands of people try out for, 5 spots or whatever it might be. So they definitely don't want you to bail out. And so, I don't know what the contract says, but it's a serious deal. So, here's a close up. Now you can see me with my, little baseball cap on because we were out in the sun all day. Here's my buddy, Kerry Kalasny, the one that I did a lot of my recitals with. And then behind us is the snare line. And this was part of the solo where we would alternate every other person and they would come up and we did this drum to drum. We were playing on each other's drums, but this gives you a nice sense of, we were out in the sun all day long and all the guys, like here's our section leader, Michael Palumbo, they would take their carrier off here and they'd have that characteristic marking because it was on their body all day long. And so, all of them we had some strange suntans, let's just say that. And see how high we're playing our drums? Nowadays, the tenors are not that high. They're much further down. So, and these babies were heavy. And we actually, there's 5 drums here. We have them configured differently now. The 3 drum, the middle drum is right here. It doesn't, now this little drum is in the middle. So it's all totally different configuration. And that, lends itself to the different melodies are going to be totally different what you could do. Here's another one. This was in Colorado, and you can see the different groups that were there. This was in Montrose, Colorado. Look how cheap these seats were. And this was at a high school. So we basically traveled the country entire summer. Every night we'd be in a different place, or every other night. We slept on the bus. We slept on gym floors. And basically, we ate in fast food. Back then, they didn't have food trucks, or at least we didn't have a food truck. Now they have a food truck that goes with them that feeds them healthy meals. And these are big organizations that do this. This costs millions of dollars to take a group of people around the country, pay for gas, pay for all the stuff that they pay for. But we would just pull into a mall and a food court, and all of us would disperse, and we were told, if you're not on the bus, find your way to the next show. And there were kids who got left behind, so you were on that bus when it was time to rock and roll out of there. And so we, for breakfast, we would eat donuts. I remember I didn't even like donuts, but you're hungry. So donuts, and then we would eat like cereal in little styrofoam cups. And that was our nutritious meal for the day, and then fast food for lunch and dinner. But it worked. Nowadays, they actually have people, nutritionists, and they have athletic trainers and people that travel with them to keep their kids healthy, because this is an athletic event. It's not just standing around boom boom and toot toot. They are running on the field all day long. So hydration is super important, getting plenty of rest, all the, preventing injury. So you can imagine all the collisions that occur when they're still learning their drill, because the drill is fast, and if somebody falls down, they're going to get trampled and hit in the head with an instrument or whacked in the mouth or whatever. So it's a serious deal. So moving on to some jazz festivals. So I was fortunate enough to play a whole bunch of jazz festivals. I mean, Las Vegas, California, the Wichita Jazz Festival in Kansas, where Maynard Ferguson was. A lot of these I've talked about before. Basie was there. We went to the Bahamas. I had a high school group that went to the Bahamas, and we played at a jazz festival there. But these were ones that were local, and this one was famous in Colorado. And everybody who was anybody, all the high schools and colleges performed there. And then it was a 4-day event, and then they brought in big names. So we always had big name people on the last night, and that was always really exciting to get to listen to the best high schools and colleges. And I did this basically all the way through high school and college. So probably 7 to 10 years was at the UNC Greeley Festival. For some reason, I saved this particular one, and I saved this particular one. This one had Butch Miles on drums. He played a very famous drummer. We haven't really talked about him much. And Freddie Hubbard Quintet, just all these folks that were just amazing players in jazz. So it was really fun to be able to go to these things. And so I happen to have a couple of posters from those. Some of these are really nothing special. I don't know why I saved them. They got lost in a box, and I never looked in the box again. And now I'm going through them like, why did I save this? I played for a million things, but for some reason, some of these got saved. Probably just because it got thrown in a corner, and when I moved, I just packed it up and threw it in a box and never looked at it until now. And I'm like, oh my, this was just a pep rally. But we did this a lot, and it was fun to go on campus, and we marched all over campus with our drums and going through the dorms and through the middle of, if it was a homecoming weekend, we'd go in the middle of a class, and just the drummers, we would just parade through, and everybody goes crazy, and it was just so much fun. So, and we'd have big bonfires. And so anyway, we had a lot of fun doing it. And I even remember, I think I told you the story, embarrassing my cousin who worked in a restaurant near campus. And after one of these, I'm like, oh, well, my cousin's, we were hungry. We're like, let's go eat at this, my cousin works over there. Let's just go eat over there. But before we do, let's just parade through, and we just did it, like we didn't get arrested or anything. Here we come, the drum line, parading through. My poor cousin's over there like, oh gosh. But then we stayed and ate, or, had a beer or something like that. But just silly, crazy times. Same thing in high school on certain pep rally days. In my high school, we had 5 buildings, and you had to go, it wasn't connected. So, it's Colorado. Sometimes it's snowing and everything. You'd have to go in between buildings all day long outside. But we would march around on these special football days and just parade around, and everybody loved it. The teachers thought it was fun. It was so deafening loud when you're going down the hallway. No wonder I can't hear anything. And so it just brought back a lot of fun. So this is just a picture kind of that reminded me of all those crazy times. This was just a winter concert, nothing spectacular, just a poster. I don't know. I had a lot of these kind of things. Another one, wind ensemble, Pop's concert. Back then these were our fancy posters. I mean, we didn't have graphic designers. Now they have very fancy things. These were very crude. But it worked. We posted them around campus. They were all over the place. Here's another one, variety show. Here's another one. Just different ones. These are all going away because there's nothing really special about any of them. They just were posters that ended up with the Earth, Wind, and Fire poster. They were in the same box, so some of these I'll keep and some of them I'm not going to keep. So the Nutcracker, played it a million times. And it was a lot of fun. It kept the percussionists busy. You'd be playing triangle and tambourine and bass drum and crash cymbals, and the music is very good. And we'd have 2-3 shows a day for several weeks. And this was just an example of, this one's only 3 performances, but sometimes it would be, all of December, pretty much, Friday night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, for a month or something, or even more than that. So these were always kind of a lot of fun to play. This is my band, one of the bands that I was in here in Colorado. We played a ski thing for a weekend. I think I might have shown you pictures from that before. And we would afterwards have buckets of beer. It was Budweiser. So, but it was fun to play a ski resort. We played during the day, and then we could ski at times, and then we could play at night, and it was just kind of a fun thing to do. Here's one that I must have seen Buddy more than I thought I did. I thought I only saw him maybe 3 times, but I think I probably saw him 4 or 5 times. So here's another one that I saw, and I don't really remember this particular one, but here's the poster, and I'm sure I was there. I wouldn't have saved it. Here's another one that I saw. Somebody had written, I didn't write this, but Shake Hands with Buddy Rich. Somebody wrote on there. This is one that I did talk to him before he got on the bus. This is a fun poster. It's kind of a famous poster. It's sort of beat up. And the way I acquired this one kind of was, I was, this is back in college. I was in another person's dorm. Some friend of mine, I don't know what we were doing, stopped over at their room for some reason. And this was in their little lounge. And I was like, oh man, I gotta have that poster. And it was just, in the lounge, and, I sort of helped myself to it. So it ended up on my wall. It was already pretty beat up then. So it wasn't any like I was taking anybody's prized possession. They just had, kind of a cork board wall, and people had just pinned up different posters for different things. And Buddy was on the wall, and I think I saw it a few times, like every time I'd come back there it was. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody else in this dorm is gonna appreciate that as much as I am. I don't know who put it up there, but I still have that poster, and I'm pretty sure if I would have left it on the wall, it wouldn't have made it, one semester. It would have been, somebody would have trashed it or whatever. But yeah, so I actually helped myself to that one. So here's the Count Basie Orchestra. Another time that his group came through. Chicoria, Paco de Lucha. This was another, we were just so lucky to see these folks in smaller little venues, when they would just be coming through town, and the word would get out in the music department. This was 82, so I was still, brand new in college, but anytime there was anybody who came through that was anywhere remotely to what we were exposed to things. And I'm really fortunate that a lot of teachers, whether it be my private lesson teacher or music directors, would say, hey, do you know so-and-so's coming through on Saturday, y'all? And then we'd all get our tickets and go. And Chuck Mangione, another one. Here's another one with Chuck Mangione. When I moved, this is much later now. This is after college and after PA school. I moved back to Colorado for a short period of time, and I was in Colorado Springs. And wherever I was, I always hooked up with the community band. So, like right now, I'm playing with the community band 2 doors down from here last night. You can always learn and grow and just be around music. And so this was a group that I played with when I was down in Colorado Springs. It was a community band, and they played legit good stuff. And there's a lot of great players. This community band that I'm in is all retired band directors. So they're they've been playing their whole lives, and there a lot of them are private lesson teachers, and there a lot of them are still teaching in various capacities in high schools and around the region. So this was something that was a lot of fun. This was in Atlanta, and this was at the Civic Center before it got demolished. And this was like a pride thing, and they had all kinds of sort of. It was a very interesting, eclectic thing, but it was music, dance, and I just remember it was fun playing in the pit because we got to play a lot of 70s disco, and they had some folks dressed up in crazy cabaret outfits, and it was just a lot of fun. And basically they were going through the decades of divas, like what would divas dance to in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, and just a lot of fun. So here was another one. This was more of a church thing. So this was something called Tesse, which is really neat if you've never been to a Tesse service, but they're usually at night. They're dark. They have candles, and it's all chant. So there's no English. Everything is chant, kind of like Gregorian chant. And I would play percussion, and I would bring all my little chimes, and it's very quiet and meditative, and there's no speaking. People come in. There's candles, it's dark. You can listen, you can follow along with the chant, or you can just close your eyes. Some people lay down, and some churches will have like pillows and things like that. And then you just leave, and it's super incredibly peaceful. And I actually have some music that maybe I can that I have from our group that did it, but I added a lot of percussion, and it was just really a neat thing because it was a way where you could play percussion, but in a way that was very thoughtful, and not really a lot of drums. I brought a lot of metallic things and a lot of chimey things. That's where I would play my dad's key chimes and things like that, and it was just a really beautiful thing. It started in France. It's done all over the world, and the cool thing about it, when it's done all over the world, all these different German people are there, and Italian people are there, and French people are there, and people from Asia are there, and Americans are there, and they're all chanting the same thing. And probably not even knowing what they're chanting, but the chant is usually in a particular language, and it's non-denominational, so it includes everybody, and so it's just really an interesting thing. But our church did it once a month, and oh man, it was one of the best. You just feel like you had a massage when you walk out of there. You could go home and go to sleep, and it's so peaceful. And it's so just really, if you've ever heard Gregorian chant or Buddhist chant, it's kind of like that. So really cool. Musicals, played a ton of musicals. Godspell was one that was a lot of fun to do. It's always fun to play for musicals, especially. The music is usually pretty good, and it keeps you busy. Sometimes it's drum set, sometimes it's percussion. So just over the years in college, high school, beyond, always played for a ton of musicals. Annie, you name the musical, probably played it. For some reason, I just happened to save this particular one. It was one of the later ones. A lot of these things didn't even have posters. We were advertised here and there was no poster. But if there was a poster and it was after the event, I would usually on the way out grab the poster because I knew they were going to throw them away anyway. So I don't know why I saved this, only because I guess it reminds me that for about 25 years, I never spent New Year's Eve with my friends or family. I was always gigging. In 2000, my mom was with me, but she went to the gig with me. And we played in Atlanta at the Jewish Tower. And I loved that gig because at 12:15 we were out of there. Most of the other places you play on New Year's Eve, you're going till 3, and everybody starts getting a little crazy, and people are wanting to come do drum solos and dance with you, and you're just like, I just need to get out of here. And so this was one where they came down around 8 o'clock. They danced. They had a blast. And at 12:05, nobody's in the place. We were packing up, and I was home. So, but this particular one was a restaurant, and I think the only reason I saved it is because the menu was really pretty good. They had some great food, and I think we got fed. So, anyway, I played a million New Year's Eve gigs, and then I was for really 25 or 30 years, I never was able to enjoy New Year's Eve with friends or family. I was always working, and I always hated being out that night driving home, because I knew everybody out there probably wasn't, I hadn't been drinking because I was playing, but probably everybody else was, and I was like, just stay away from me. I just want to get home, and I'd have to go through roadblocks, and the police would look in the back, and I'm like, have you been drinking tonight? I'm like, no, do you see the drums back there? So anyway, it was always a rough night to be out, but I love doing the senior gigs because you could be home early. This was just, I think, the restaurant that we were at. It was it was a really fun one because it was small. This was another one that I liked because it wasn't like a million random people. It was kind of an elite little group. Everybody's dressed up. They were older, and they were out of there, and we got fed good, and the money was good, I'm sure, and so that was kind of fun. I did play with some of the Emery groups a little bit, not a lot, but when I was there, both times I played. This was in '96, and so I hooked up and got a chance to play the Planets, which was always a fun. Holst the Planets is always, I love Jupiter, that's a really great tune. Played with a group called the Atlanta Rainbow Ensemble. I don't think they're around anymore. It was a concert band in Atlanta. Oh gosh, we finally end the show. Oh my gosh, and I know I have a million more posters and tickets, and I'm sure I'll be finding them, and we'll come back and do a part 197. So any questions or suggestions or thoughts?
I want to know how long were you the only? I thought you were the only girl drummer in that photo of the troopers. So,
Well, no, there was my buddy Carrie who marched next to me.
here, yeah,
The two
okay.
of us were in the tenors, and interestingly enough, so when we first met, it was like at an audition, and she was from Grand Junction, Colorado, which is like 5 hours away. I was from Denver, and we were told to come to this camp. They call them a camp, and we weren't all quite in yet. And all these people descend, and we were the only two girls, and we're sort of looking at each other like, we were kind of adversarial at first. We were just like, because we were, our game faces were on and everything. And it was pretty unusual. But, we became best friends, and we're still in communication. She lives in Chicago. But the funny thing was, we both got in. We both got in the tenor line. We marched next to each other. We found out we were both going to CSU in the we were both going to be going there. Maybe I had already done 1 year and she was coming there. That's something like that. I think she's 1 year difference. But we ended up then being in every single wind ensemble. We did our senior recitals together. And it was just really nice. She was my sidekick. And in fact, Otto Werner would always call us Ruffy and Tuffy. We were always like a little pair. Wherever there was one, there was the other. And, it was just really great, but it was pretty unusual. And we just were, great buddies, and we still are friends. And I don't get to talk to her as much as I would like to, but she ended up getting the Busch Garden gig, and she was the one who went on the gig with me to for Disney. We were trying out for the Disney thing together. So yeah, but there weren't any other there were some girls in the mallet line in the front ensemble, but none in the and the cool thing about this Troopers Legacy Corps is I'm going to be playing hopefully rope drum. I'm transitioning to traditional grip and been practicing like crazy, but this summer the Troopers Legacy Corps, which is the corps that I played with last summer, it's about 190 people, and we're half. I'll have to send you they just came through on my Facebook, the link to an article, and a video of our director being interviewed. But it's about half Troopers alumni and half others who always wanted to be troopers. and you have to audition. And in the snare line, there's a contemporary snare line, which is the modern snares. This year they're having a rope snare, and the rope snare is the old military style, painted wooden
Oh, with
with
the
ropes.
crossing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm
Yeah.
going to be playing rope drum, and there's going to be probably four of us, maybe more, and I'm the only female in the snare line or the rope line. There might be, I don't know if there's any in the bass line. There might be some in the mallet line, but it's really cool because this year is going to be very traditional. It's our 65th anniversary, and we're playing at the World Finals, and the crowd is going to go absolutely nuts because we're doing some troopers characteristic things over the years, and they're even going to have uniforms unveiled during the show of, this was the troopers in the 50s and this was the 60s and the 70s, and it's going to be really amazing. So I'm really excited, but it's a big deal to transition from matched grip, which I've been playing for 60 years or 55, and now I'm playing with my stick like this. And it's a different and I think I was telling you the reason why I never learned is uh, my drum teacher at the time was saying that's old. Like this is the 70s. That's how they played. That's how Ringo plays. And that's how all those old jazzers play. This is rock now. You're going to be a rock drummer. You got to play matched grip. But drum corps was always traditional grip, except for the year that I marched troopers. The snare line played matched grip too. But that's why I always played tenors. And tenors for me is actually a lot more challenging because you have 5 drums and it's a lot more complicated. This in college I played snare. We all played matched grip. So there was a period of time in history where matched grip was the way. And so that's the way I went. And I have had to transition kids over in high school if they were good enough and we thought that they were going to be core material, we would start transitioning them over. So I taught that, but I never play that way. So this is a new thing for me, and it actually is going better than I thought. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago how's it going, I would have said I feel just, like I have some kind of problem, like I have some medical condition, like I can't, this isn't working for me. But now it's getting more comfortable and it's a lot easier. And I think it's going to continue. Practice is an amazing thing. At anything you want to get good at, if you do it over and over, you get good at what you do over and over and over and over, or you develop bad habits that have to be broken. But right now, it's actually not as hard as I thought. And I've actually got my pad on a stand. So I'm actually practicing instead of having my snare flat. My snare is like this and it'll be on a sling. And it's going to be a big, beautiful drum. And I think they're making them just for us because this is a big deal for the troopers. And so I think they're going to, these drums are beautiful. There's a company that makes rope drums. It's a different style of playing. It's a little bit of an older style. But I kind of grew up with that style, and I've been through all the books. There's a couple of famous books that I went through that were this style. So it's kind of like going back to what I did when I was younger. I'm going through all the same stuff that I did when I was younger, but I'm doing it now with a different hand.
And you're going to get us lots of pictures, right?
I am, and it's going to be probably, it'll be televised and all that kind of stuff. There'll be, and I can send you some links to show you. Some of the other groups have done this in the past, so every so often they'll let one of the alumni groups, and this is a 5-year deal for troopers. This is the last time. We're doing it now, and then it's done. They've been building up to this for 5 years, and last year we did a show where we pretty much went on the field and stood. So that's how I could play tenors. But this year we're marching, at least part of it. And so that's why I decided if I'm going to do it, I need to be playing something else because I can't carry tenors. They're too heavy, and I can't carry them and march them around and play, and think that I'm going to walk the next day. I'm going to hurt myself. And it's just, I don't want to put all this effort in and then can't do it because my back, hurts. So I think I can carry a snare, and I'm going to start kind of working on, walking around the house with it on, trying to get one.
Do you ever wear one of those back brace things that you see people wearing like at Home Depot and all?
Yeah, the little trusses. I mean, it's good. I could try it, but you know what? For me, it's my vertebra being, when you get older, your vertebra in your back kind of compress on one another. And so for
Mhm.
me, any kind of that's called axial loading. So anytime you get like bonked in the head, or if I'm on a roller coaster and I jerk down real quick, anytime I have axial loading. So when you hang drums, you're pulling, you're compressing, and the nerves are running in there. So the truss is really great for muscle. Mine's not a muscle problem. Mine's a compression problem. And so like if I could find something to pull me up so that my vertebrae are stretched, and they do have things where you can hang upside down and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but I'm not really gonna do that. But I'm just gonna hope that if I get used to kind of wearing it and try to be comfortable, and it's not as heavy as a full set of tenors for sure, so I think I can hack it. And when we're practicing, it'll be on a stand probably, and then the only time I really need to have it on is for about 13 to 15 minutes during the show. And during the show, I've been told there's a part where we're not playing the whole time. We're coming in, we're kind of like the little icing on the cake. We'll show up and do a little something, and then we disappear and maybe go to the front ensemble and play some cymbals or something else, and then we'll show up again. So I don't even think I have to have it on the whole time. I think it's going to be on and off, and I think I can hack it. So I'm excited about that.
What
It's
about those chairs? They look like a flat hammock. They're black and you can pivot like this. I think you can strap your ankles in and you can hang, but you're on the floor. You're not hanging from a door or anything.
I don't
And you
know.
can put your TV on the ceiling and hang out.
Okay. Well, I mean, my back normally is fine. I just don't carry heavy stuff. That's the solution. Is it doesn't hurt if I don't, hang
Right. I just
my
keep thinking
body and
about
walk
my
around.
friend. I keep thinking about my friend who fell in the tub and he had compression problems and it really compressed it. Now he says really has trouble. I don't want to see you have anything major happen.
Yeah. Well, no, I've had it before and I know what it feels like, and it is not fun. And it doesn't always have to be even from heavy stuff. It can just be bending over wrong. But I'm just going to try my best to, be as prepared as I can be, and that's all I can do. But I'm going to go for it, and this is a big deal to transition over at my age. But I think I can do it. And the funny thing is, when I'm just joking around and I play right-handed traditional, so I put the stick in the opposite way, I actually play pretty well. And I've been joking with our drum captain. I'm like, do y'all want to just turn your sticks around? That'd be kind of cool. Let's all play right hand traditional, because I can do that right now. Or both ways. That'd be really weird. But anyway, no, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think they're
I'm
gonna.
surprised that you keep saying at my age and everything, and you're only in your 60s.
Yeah, but this activity is very, very demanding. The drum corps is unlike, it's the Olympics. This is, think of it like, I'm a high school, college pole vaulter who's
Right.
who's back doing it. That's kind of, drum corps is not like the typical marching band, boom chicka, go on, move around, come out. This is, I don't know if you've seen drum corps, but especially the junior drum corps, the people, these kids actually hire personal trainers to get them ready for the summer. It is absolutely brutal. And they're, I mean, especially the tenor players, the kid that I was telling you about. I mean, it's rough hauling those things around, and they're on your body all day long, and they're running on the field. I mean, it is, and we weren't doing drill quite like they are. Like if I go back and watch our drill, I thought we were doing so much stuff, and then I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, we went on, and then we kind of turned, and then we went this way, and then we went that way, and I'm like, they're like going like this. And I'm like, how do they just not even run into each other? And same with indoor drum line. We didn't even do what's called crab stepping. We never went side to side. We went forward and backward. And we had the most, Jim Jones from the Troopers had the most, what was called forward thinking drill. Like he did asymmetric drill. Like all these other corps, their drill was exactly symmetrical. So like whatever they did, this side did and this side did. Jim Jones did stuff like where he'd have an ice cream cone that would start like this and it would go around the field. This was way cutting edge back in the 60s and the 70s. We didn't just go forward, we had the most crazy drill of the day. But when I look at it, it's pretty lame compared to what they do now. Everything has evolved. The equipment has evolved. The drill has evolved. The musicality has evolved. I mean, we were really good for what was out there then.
And the sugar has evolved. People are living more on sugar junk food too.
Yeah, well, the other interesting trend I have to say is the kids that I see in drum corps are larger than we were, but these are the healthiest kids of the kids in America. So if the healthiest kids in America are looking like this and eating like this, then what are the unhealthy kids doing? And I think, if you look at troopers or any of the corps back in the 70s or even your own lives, we were all and you'd have to wonder about our food. But and our and not because I think the core make sure they're eating. I've seen their food on their menus, and they're feeding them, and they feed them healthy snacks. They eat carrot sticks, and they're not eating and they're drinking water. They're not drinking soda. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, definitely, it's a physical activity, and so I'm pretty physical, but I'm not running around with a drum. So it's new, and I have to
Yeah.
get used to that, so it's not so I can handle it. But
The one thing that you could tap into is right after you leave us today is our yoga class. And she always does a lot of back stretches.
mm,
And maybe you could get your mother to do it too once she sees you doing it. But
yeah,
I can't go every day without doing her class. It's gotten that bad.
really, yoga is
Yeah.
a good idea. Is
Mine
it?
is just from hunching over, like I can't sit on my sofa. It's better for me to walk around. My back starts hurting. But her
No,
class saves the day. It
that's
might help
that's
your back.
that's a good idea. Yeah, and that is true. Yoga, tai chi, all of those things are
And she
really good.
explains it medically, which is interesting. So you'd like that. All the muscles and all that. She likes to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Hey, suggestions for future classes. Now that we're fresh, we finally finished the concert tickets, posters, autographs, and for a while anyway, until I find more stuff.
And
Uh,
don't get rid of any of them either.
okay, I won't. I won't. Most of the stuff, I'm keeping most of the stuff. There's a
Is there
few.
a drum museum anywhere? A percussion
Yeah,
museum?
there is, but I think, and some of the stuff they would be interested in, but some of it I don't think they would. But like that Troopers poster, I will send a picture of that to the Troopers alumni because they actually do want that sort of thing because it's pretty rare. There's not a lot of that kind of stuff. We just didn't have all the media that we have now, so some of that stuff is important, and but some of the other stuff, I will reach out to CSU. They may or may not be interested. Um, so they might be. You never know. You never know. If you wait long enough, everything becomes popular. So, like, you just have to wait it out. When it's in the junk phase, it becomes the cool phase again in about 10, 15 years. So, all
But your collection is very specific, and there have to be museums in each city you've been in and things like that, which will take forever to
yeah.
track down so that it's preserved. I'm looking through my old stuff and I'm thinking nobody wants this stuff.
You never know though. If you find the right, sometimes it makes people happy. I am in the process of doing all of that, like finding the right home for everything that I'm not using right at this moment. If I'm not using it right at this moment, probably I'm not going to use it, and it needs to find a home where it can be used or appreciated. So I'm doing that all the time, and I'm
And
getting
get,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and get their name and address, because by the next week after you give it away, you'll need it. You can borrow it.
Well, I haven't found that to be true. Honestly, I know people say that, but there's really nothing yet that I have gotten rid of that I was like, oh, I should have kept that. Right now, I'm going through old 78s, and I categorized them and I looked them up, and I've got 89, 10-inch, 12-inch, 78s. And honestly, you'd think they'd be valuable. They're not. They're valuable to the right person, but like if you think you're going to sell some Caruso, from 1905, quite honestly, is not going to happen. And so I'm going to garage sale my vinyl, my 78s. I already got rid of all the albums, and there's just no sense.
78s are back in again. They're back in. They're selling
I
the
hope so. If you know
And
somebody,
before I knew they were back in, I had a stack about 12 inches tall, and I sold them to one guy for $10, the whole stack, and he was thrilled.
yeah.
And then I found out, oh no, they're reproducing the phonographs and everything,
Well, it depends. The only ones that are really valuable are it's not who you think, like I thought, oh, this is so and so, Glenn Miller, they were mass produced. So because they're mass
Yeah.
produced, there's so many of them. The ones they want are the little, blues Louisiana person that nobody's heard of, but like, they only did 200 copies or something like that. So I don't have any of those. All the ones we have were Italian opera and 50s or 40s big band, which are kind of considered a dime a dozen, believe it or not. So certain ones are popular, and I've actually looked them up. I've spent an entire day looking
Look,
up every single one, and I'm like, I've just come to the conclusion that if the right person comes along, for $50 you can have 89 of them and take them off my hands, because there's no sense in keeping it in a box. And
I have a friend who's doing the same thing. He had a music shop and everything, and he's got hundreds of posters and all this stuff. You need to friend him on Facebook. His name is Mitch Kirschner.
Okay,
And he's
send
up
me
there.
email me his information.
Okay, I will.
All
And
right.
because he's still trying to get rid of all these music posters and records. I don't know if he sold the records yet, but he goes to music venues. If there's something around, he's going to it or traveling to it and all that. Y'all need to be hooked up.
Maybe I'll be acquiring more stuff. Uh-oh, I don't know. It's a good
And
idea.
a friend of mine who was a musician, a guitar player, he cut a record years ago and he had cases of them left, the big ones. He donated them all, and now they're on Facebook for like $85 each. Not on Facebook, but on whatever it is you sell things on, eBay or whatever.
Yeah. All right, y'all. We need to end. So send me emails what you'd like to learn about, and I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you next week.
Okay, find some more fun stuff for us. I love all these things.
Okay. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Bye, Molly. Bye, Jasmine. Bye, Barb.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Valerie.
Bye.